Hey, this is Kojo Raps on TV. I'm here with Fadi from Boxing Arabia, the guy we connected with yesterday at the press conference. Really impressive page. Looking to hear his story and get to know more about boxing, not just in Saudi Arabia, but in the region as well. So Fadi, how are you doing? And thank you for coming to meet us today.
Thank you for having me and welcome to Saudi Arabia. It's a pleasure to have all the media here and this amazing event happening in Saudi Arabia.
Yes, thank you. And thank you. I think just to start, the hospitality has been great. Even since actually I got to the airport, customs were more than polite. Taxi's been great, hotel service has been great. So I think everyone's really positive. And as we get into this conversation, I think when we discuss boxing in general, hopefully we see more events out here. But I just want to come back to your page, Boxing Arabia.
Yep.
Just tell me, when did it get started? Like, how long has it been going on, and what inspired you to start a page like that?
Okay, so basically, I've been a boxing fan since I was a kid. But as kids growing up in the Middle East, it was very hard to follow the sport, especially before the internet and before, you know, we didn't even have satellite channels before. So I remember hearing about like great fighters from my dad. My dad used to tell me about Muhammad Ali. He used to tell me about Mike Tyson. And basically the timing when the fights happen in the States, it's like it starts at 4 a.m. here, and I was a school kid, so I used to sleep. My dad sometimes later on, when we had a VCR and everything, he'd start recording the fights for me to watch the day after. And I fell in love with the sport, right? And but yeah, as I said, for the region it was very hard to find out about fights, to watch the fights. So growing up, you know, like the internet came on, changed the whole world, made it a smaller place. We started watching videos on YouTube of different boxers that we used to hear about, Roberto Duran, Marvin Hagler, everyone basically. Like, so recently with the craziness and the madness of the social media, I decided, I was like, okay, so I speak English, that's due to my education and all of that, and I can follow blogs and YouTubers and all of that, and study and go deep dive into the sport, right? But what about the people here? They don't know how to do that. Most of them, their English is not that great.
Good solution.
So I was like, Boxing Arabia, that's what it is. I started Boxing Arabia right before, the night before Tyson Fury fought Wilder, the first fight, about 2 years ago, less than 2 years ago.
Less than,
So that's when we started, and it amazed me how people started following up on it, and they were very happy.
Your growth is fantastic.
Yeah, thank you, brother. I mean, so yeah, that was the time that we started, and then I started seeing people like, you know, following more, and they were very happy. A lot of people started contacting me like, we love what you're doing. We've been waiting for someone to do this. Thank you very much for doing that. Around that time, few months later, the World Boxing Super Series announced that the final of the super middleweight will be in Jeddah. We were blown away. We're like, no way, a boxing fight's coming to Saudi Arabia. I went there, I met the Super Series people. I remember it was around 4,000 followers I had back then. And I stepped up. I went to the press conference. I looked it up what it is. I went there. I approached them. I started talking to them, and they welcomed me. They welcomed the idea and welcomed me in. You know, so they gave me accreditation. It was my first experience being at a fight and at a venue at an event. You know, so it was really great.
How was that?
That was fantastic. I mean, like being by the ring, being with the media. That's where I met Eddie Hearn as well for the first time. And I talked to him, I interviewed him back then about bringing possible fights here, and he said it's kind of hard. I remember his answer to this day. He was like, it's kind of hard because of the infrastructure and because of like there's a lot of things to take into consideration. And then after that, in a few months, another event happened through GSA here, the General Sport Authority, and the GEA, the General Entertainment Authority, where they brought Amir Khan to fight Billy Dip here as well. And at that fight, again, I went there, and I actually, because of like the boxing knowledge and because of the Arabic language, I was selected to commentate on the event for the Arabic channels. So that was a dream comes true, you know, like I'm sitting by the ring, I'm commentating.
How did you find that, like in terms of being able to watch what's going on in the ring and then being able to articulate?
It was fascinating. It was fascinating. I mean, like it was all improvised, but like I don't know, I handled it properly. You know, even people hit me up.
All those years of YouTube research helped,
absolutely,
right?
Absolutely, and a lot of people hit me up. They were like, "Thank you for commentating on that." We always get like, you know, usually when we get fights broadcasted on Arabic network, most of the commentators that do it, they are basically football commentators. So they don't know how to commentate on boxing, right? So everybody loved it, like in terms of the followers and the people who was watching. So yeah, after that, few months after that, we hear about the possibility of bringing Clash on the Dunes here. It wasn't called Clash on the Dunes. The rematch basically coming here.
But I like the fact you've called it Clash of the Dunes, because actually you're the first person that I've heard actually label it as that, which it is, and that's great.
It is. That's the title of it. That is called Clash on the Dunes. I remember the one in Jeddah between Groves and Callum Smith was titled by Dave Diamante. He called it Rowdy in Saudi. That was a cool name as well.
Exactly.
So yeah, I mean, and the fight happened. It was announced, the deal was closed, and here we are. And it's amazing to have this kind of event in this region of the world. And I mean, we at Boxing Arabia, we've been trying to inspire and educate people, and actually a lot of people would love to get into the sport of boxing. It just, we don't have the infrastructure in the countries yet, in the region in general. Like, I'm not talking about only Saudi, I'm talking about the Middle East. Of course, as you know, there are a few boxers like Nassim Hamed, but he got his glory not from the Middle East. He had, you know, to be in England, Saddam Ali in New York, and there are others, you know. But the people who cannot travel there or cannot, like, you know, they don't have the financial power to go there and get trained and all of that. They always tell me, like, we don't see boxing going anywhere. But now it's a completely different story, because now it's an eye-opener for the crowd here and for investors to bring academies and for the country itself to see, to test the hunger of the people here for the sport. And I think it's a great thing all in all.
And I did want to ask you about that, because obviously there's, when you look at boxing, you, like you said, you can start having clubs and academies and start guiding people down the professional route. But how are the people generally, from what you know, your friends, your family, how are they? Have they been receptive in that the last year there's probably been like 3 boxing events? Are they excited to see more? And
Definitely. I mean, like, to be honest, this is the biggest fight out of them so far, and this is the biggest fight in the world, as you have said, and it's a historical event. You know, it's just like, you can easily compare it to Rumble in the Jungle and to Thrilla in Manila. So this is going to be a historical thing in a historical place. And it's happening for the first time in Saudi Arabia, where a fight of this magnitude is coming. So I think people will love it. It will inspire them. It's a great story. What's so special about this fight is the story behind it. There's a great story, whether from the fighters or from the country, because also Saudi Arabia started this Vision 2030. I don't know if you're familiar with it. The Crown Prince started the Vision 2030 for Saudi Arabia, where they are investing in multiple aspects like healthcare, education, sport. You saw the transformation happening in the country. It's happening rapidly. It's happening in a great speed, and it's happening on all aspects. So it's a very important part of history of the country and the history of boxing colliding here in Saudi Arabia and Clash on the Dunes.
100%, and I think that's really good for sort of my audience to know that, you know, Saudi Arabia has this plan for 2030, because we heard Eddie Hearn speak yesterday. And he spoke about wanting to bring more fights out here.
Absolutely.
But also at the press conference, we heard from the Prince. And what I was really I'm not touched by, but I was really impressed by when he spoke about, you know, I used to watch all of these fights, Tyson, and you could see that he had a hunger of, his exact words were, I feel like we're getting back to the era of Tyson, Lewis,
Absolutely.
Holyfield. He said, and this is wonderful. And I thought, you know what, that's good for people to hear, because it shows that it's not just a money thing, it's about, actually, this is someone who's got passion for boxing.
I can guarantee you it's not only about money, because I know Prince Khalid personally, and he is a huge fan of boxing. And he used to box like not professionally, but he used to box, and
Oh, wow.
So he loves the sport, and he is actually very proud and happy that he got the support of the government to do this event. And he told me personally, I can't talk about what might be coming in terms of fights, but I know about events that might be happening in the coming years, and it's really fantastic.
This is why it's key again that, you know, myself, I collaborate with you just to understand how boxing is received here, but then also is that dual platform, right? So now my audience will know Boxing Arabia. If they want to find out what's going on in Saudi Arabia for boxing, I think that's key. But one thing you mentioned was you don't just cover Saudi Arabia, you actually cover the whole of the Middle East. And how is it, obviously is there a change in terms of the attitude between Saudi Arabia and say somewhere like a Qatar or Bahrain?
Right.
Are they now catching up to attitude of boxing is something to invest in?
Bro, let me tell you something. This region is very unique. So Arabs in general, like they basically think it's like if you forget about politics, right? But the people, if you look at the people on people level, we all one. You know what I mean? Like we're all one nation at the end of the day, and we all kind of have the same views on a lot of things. And boxing is one of them. We have the passion for the sport, whether in Morocco, Tunisia, Jordan, Syria, Lebanon, UAE, Kuwait. Everybody loves boxing, man. It's a very unique sport and it has following all around the world, not only in the Middle East, right? We don't only cover Middle East though. We cover all boxing news. So what I try to do is I get the news from, you know, like people that I've met through you in the future as well, and like blogs and magazines, etc. And basically what I do is I report them in Arabic. That's what I do. And after the fights, we have like live streams where we analyze the fights. We have a show called The Round, and we do that like every month once on YouTube. It's like a long blog, and it's like 12 rounds per year, right?
I like
and we
that.
do a
Very
wrap up.
clever.
We do all different types of things. We also do this program on Mondays called Amateur Mondays. Like if you're an amateur boxer or trainer or whatever, you can tag Boxing Arabia on your story, and we repost your video. For to build a network between them.
So then the audience in this part of the world gets to know them.
Absolutely,
it's tough for everybody to find out who the best amateur is or who the latest amateur is.
Right.
If you're networking and you're promoting it, then surely they're going to find out. That's
absolutely, and I'm just like I'm driven by passion. I'm a marketing graduate from an American university, so that worked perfectly for me, you know. So
And now you're doing something you're passionate about, which is great. And like I said to you, so my platform is Raps on TV. We're very fan friendly, fan interactive. So if you do come to London, but even after the fight in a few weeks, we'd love to do like a live, so we can do a Skype
thank you
interview into the studio. But we'd love to have you in the studio, and hopefully we can get another boxer around. And if you need to be introduced to some boxers,
that would be great.
Spoke to about John David.
That would be great.
I mean,
let me tell you a funny story that I told
please.
Anthony Joshua yesterday during the interview. The first time I went to London was a couple of years ago. I was on Instagram and I see Joshua training and his story, and he tagged the gym. It's BXR. So I'm friend with another boxing fanatic rapper in the States. He goes by the name of Vinny Pass from Jedi Mind Tricks. And we're always like talking together, you know, like so. I text him, I go like, yo, I'm going to BXR now to meet Anthony Joshua. He was like, bro, you're wildin'. There is no way they'll let you in. I was like, watch me, I'm going there, I'm meeting Anthony Joshua. And I actually got in a cab, I went there. I went down, they looked at me like I'm crazy. I was like, I'm from Boxing Arabia, I want to meet Anthony Joshua, you know, and they were like, first of all, he's not here. Second of all, even if he was here, I don't think it's like allowed to let you in. I was like, I was so like put down, right? So I bought a couple of merch from there, but AJ merch, and I came back. I told him that yesterday in the interview. I was like, how crazy is it that I went chasing you in London and now you are here right in front of me? That's insane, you know. That's
the irony of that is
absolutely, man. Like so, like when it hits me that like you know, Michael Buffer yesterday was there, Eddie Hearn, Callum Smith, George Groves, Lennox Lewis, Nassim Hamid, all these people that I've been dreaming of meeting, they all came to us. They came to Saudi Arabia. It's like a dream come true. It is a dream come true, you know, and it's fascinating.
And on that actually, I just want to ask you in terms of, you know, next year we've got a lot of fights. You said you're a boxing fan. I would like to see, what fight would you like to see happening in Saudi Arabia? But I'll ask you generally, which fight would you like to see happening? What's the biggest fight you're craving in boxing at the moment? What would you like to see happen in 2020?
Good question. See, I was very anxious to watch a Triple G Canelo 3, but I don't think I want to see that anymore.
You know he's coming here as well, I'm sure you know.
Canelo, yes, he is, yes. I would like to see more of Usyk in the heavyweight. I would like to see Errol Spence versus Terence Crawford. That would be great. Lomachenko and Gervonta Davis would be great. Tyson Fury and Wilder, that's happening anyway. I would love to see. There are many fights. Naoya Inoue is great as well. Would love to see more of them. These are the ones that I can think of the top of my mind.
And it's not even a test, but you're just proving that you're a hardcore boxing fan, not just by the pain, by the fact that you're asking for the fights everyone likes Usyk because of his skill set and seeing what he can do in heavyweight.
Absolutely.
Terence Crawford, Errol Spence is just like a no-brainer. Right, everyone wants that. And then Niue, he's just finished the year in fantastic fashion. That it's just, it's great.
I know Pacquiao is 40, but I would love to see more of Pacquiao. Like, I mean,
I think we will, though.
Yeah, definitely. I think he announced the fight in March or April.
Exactly. He's
so
thinking of it. We just don't know the opponent.
Mikey Garcia is great as well. Berbiev.
Yes.
Yeah, the list goes on, man. Like, there are tons of boxers that are amazing. It's a great time for boxing, I believe.
Yeah.
On most of the weights, you know, like in every weight there are great names. It's high competition. It's really great time to be a boxing fan.
Super middleweights, you look at cruiserweights, light heavyweights, which we're seeing this Saturday. You're totally right. It's a great time to be a boxing fan. And in terms of, you mentioned how you're going to promote. Do you want to just tell us? Obviously, you've got the shows on YouTube. What other platforms do you promote your shows onto?
Mainly I started on Instagram, and then we started like spreading everywhere else. Like when we started doing, the first time we did the Round program, which we do monthly. It was like 2 hours because I met. I got to talk about this as well. I met 2 other guys. It was like, you know, in the Matrix when that girl told Neo to follow the white rabbit, you know. So this guy DMs me and he goes like, hey man, if you want to join us on a WhatsApp group, you don't have to, like, you know, contribute or anything. You can just be there. If you want to get it, you can leave it if you want. You know, just like if you could give me your number, we'll add you there. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, it's fine. I get in, man, and there are like 50 people who are like great boxing fanatics, and they all have the knowledge. I was blown away because I didn't think I would see such people, at least in the region here, you know. And like I met 2 of them. One of them is a doctor. He goes by the name of Rakan. And he joined me on the program on Boxing Arabia. He does basically every Saturday before the fights. He has a show where he talks about the background of each boxer on the card, and he talks about, you know, analyzes everything. In detail. And the other guy was